Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Today's guest, I'm just so excited to be speaking with her. I'd like to introduce Gina Mitchell. Gina stands for women being empowered and owning their own lives while going through midlife and menopause. Her niche is coaching women over 40 because of her own challenges with midlife and menopause. She is not okay with the fact that many women suffer and struggle through this stage of life and beyond. Gina is a certified life coach, a certified neurolinguistic programming practitioner, a matrix therapist, and a hypnotherapist. She is the founder and CEO of Midlife Coaching for Women, and she has been supporting her clients to reach their goals since 2011. She wrote a #1 best-selling book about female midlife relationships called Ignite the Spark, and her mission is to help midlife women live their true potential. It comes from over 35 years as a scientist and science teacher. Her other passions include her family, pet cats, travel, advocating for animal rights, and the environment. Her mantra is not just surviving menopause and midlife, but thriving. I love that. Gina, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kip. Thank you so much for having me on this masterclass.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Yeah. So Gina, you have had such an interesting journey getting to where you are here today. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, I mean, not everyone in our audience will know you, but you are, in my opinion, a really high vibe, high energy person. And you reached a point through menopause where I think you actually had to leave your career. Is that correct? So,
yes.
I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, what that was like and how you got through it and got to this point where you are today?
Right. Okay. I guess for me, this whole menopause journey began probably around about 2006, 2007-ish. And because it happened so slowly, I wasn't really aware of it. If one day I went bang, I'm in menopause, I might have gone, oh my God, I've got to do something about this. However, it wasn't like that. It was like, there's that metaphor of the frog. You put it in hot water and it'll jump straight out. Whereas if you actually put it in cold water and you heat it up slowly, it won't jump out. And in fact, it'll get so hot that it'll die. Well, I felt like that slow cooking frog. I wasn't really aware of what was happening to me. And here's me, a science teacher, right? Biology teacher. It's like, I didn't even know what the hell was going on, or I thought I did, but it wasn't what the reality was for me. So I started, it's just the little things, like I don't know, my periods started going wonky first of all, when they'd always been very regular throughout my life. I started not sleeping, and, teaching is a really stressful career. And there was that work creep over my 30 years, so that, over the years, it was just a little bit more expectation of teachers. So from the first year of teaching to the 30th year of teaching, the expectations were almost exponential. And so it was stressful. Even as a first year teacher, it was very, very stressful anyway. But after teaching that long, it's like, I'm supposed to be really good at this now. I'm supposed to have everything down pat, but I'm still stressed. I'm still learning new things. I'm still having to do more and more responsibilities because of, external things like legislation, like duty of care and all the sort of things that pushed all of that onto the teachers. And any teachers that are actually viewing this, well, I know that they can actually concur with what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So round about from 2006 to when I completely burnt out in 2015. So, well, that's 9 years of just, going through the motions of getting to school, getting up in the morning, doing my miracle morning of meditation, exercise, making sure I was doing everything to get the balance in my life as possible. And then, the stressful days at school, being a head of department as well in the science department at the school I was at. And it was just stress all the way through. And on weekends, it'd be like, oh my God, now I deserve a glass of wine or a bottle of wine, or, I've cut loose, go and dance. So they probably weren't the most, even though I meditate every day, all the other actions I was doing were probably, they weren't so nice to me, I guess. They were
good for the soul, maybe not so good for the body.
Good for the soul. It was like, work Gina, party Gina, And then there was no real room for rest, Gina, although I thought that I was doing enough, but I wasn't. So I just kept on going. I guess the biggest thing for me was sleep, and it really did impact my sleep. And that got worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. And I just finished reading a book on sleep by, I wish I had it here, it's up in Queensland. It's called Why We Sleep, and it's by a doctor. I can't even remember his name now. I'll have to look it up. But I read that and went, oh my God, no wonder I feel like the way I do, because, I'm just not cognitively, working the best that I can. So, throughout that time, 2015, I was getting less and less sleep. I bought a Fitbit and Garmin's. I've got an Apple Watch now to track my sleep. But, in those days, I was getting around about 2 to 3 hours of sleep, and it wasn't good quality. It was really bad sleep. Mm-hmm. So, of course, you can't function like that, but here's me thinking I'm Wonder Woman for some crazy reason. So at the end of it, midway through 2015, actually, I started taking long service leave. And I don't know if anybody in Canada or the States or around the world knows what that means, but we are so blessed in Australia that if you work in an industry or in a company for 10 years, you get some time off. Paid. It's like 3 months. It's great. So I'd accrued some long service leave. I thought, I better take some. So I did. I took one lot, and then I took another lot. And this lot, we went to Greece. My sister, my husband, and I went to Greece. Beautiful month holiday, really relaxing, really beautiful, blah, blah, blah. I came back thinking, okay, I'm going to get back into school now. I went for 2 days and nothing had changed. I just went back into my normal crappy no sleep routine. And I think I just had a meltdown at school. I just said, I can't do this. And so I rang the next day. I rang in sick. I actually melted in the shower. I wrote a story on it. It's in a book called My Story, and my story is called The Turning Point. It's just a chapter in a book about this. So I slid down the shower going, how the hell am I going to do this? I can't do this anymore. And I came out to Pete. And I said, I can't do this anymore, Pete. I can't go back to school. I can't do this. I'm done. I'm burnt out. I can't function. I'm stuffed, basically. And he was like, that bloody school, blah, blah, blah. You bring them up and you tell them you're not going to. He'd been saying that to me for years, actually. That school is the thing that's me. It wasn't a school because it was me. I take responsibility for it. Mm. So that was the end of that. My lovely principal, he actually left the door open for me to come back for 18 months after that day. And in the end, I didn't go back to that school. And but before that, sort of back up a bit, around about 2011, 2010, I thought I need to start thinking about transitioning because, I can do part-time, but part-time's not really good with teaching because they give you crappy classes and all the rest of it. But anyway, I won't go into that, the politics of teaching. So I couldn't cope with that. But anyway, I thought, I want to go and do something else. And all of a sudden I found this group in Sydney and headed by a guy called Matt Catling. And there was this weekend called Live It Now. And I went along to that and it's like transformational. I handed my credit card over and said, I'm doing the platinum package. And that's where you learn how to do life coaching. You get coaching yourself. You learn how business, speaking, NLP. It was a whole thing. And it took me, I still do them over and over again, by the way, and I still crew for them, etc. So I learned all this stuff. And it was mainly for me. I did it for me. I thought, I could actually help myself. I get coaching. I was seeing a psychiatrist, psychologist at the time because I really needed to do that. And I wanted to coach because I didn't want to just be fixed up for my problems. I wanted to actually be thriving, not just surviving. Mm-hmm. So hence my little, quote. Yeah, I did all this. I was so excited by it. I was still going to school at this stage and I was still doing this. I went, oh my goodness, if I can help other people too. And being a teacher, this was like a natural progression into coaching because you're just working with people. Which is what I always wanted to do with my extrovert personality. It was like, yes, I can work with people. I can transition from school to teaching. And I was doing that. And I wrote a book at the same time on midlife relationships. No wonder I burnt out when I come to think of it now. Anyway, but the school thing happened. And in fact, I even took a step back from coaching at that point. I thought, I just can't do it. Although people seemed to find me. And so I had a trickle of clients, but I just really needed time for me. And it took about 2 years of just stepping back, which I'd never done in my life. I was always at school, then I was at university, then I was working and I was all doing all these things, and I just had never really taken real stock. Maybe during my travels, I did travel to India, I did lots of other traveling alone, and I guess I did some then, but this was a crisis for me, and it was wow, I'm no longer a teacher, big identity crisis. So anyway, as time went on, I sort of relaxed more into not teaching anymore. I thought, okay, I really need to coach women that have actually been through what I've been through, because I know I can help them. I'm on the other side of that now. I can actually help them. And so that's where I came up with this, midlife coaching for women. Because, I was thinking to myself, I'm a science teacher. I'm a biology teacher. I thought I knew. I do know about the body. I was, trained in biochemistry, so I do understand all that. And I thought to myself, but I didn't even get it. So what about all the other women out there that haven't got this science background and they don't know what's going on for them? So I wanted to help these other women, and I even get some of their husbands actually. They're sort of in the middle of it as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
My wife hates me.
do you think, Gina? Do you think, like, is it a situation where there isn't enough information out there for women to find? It's not that we're ignoring what's there. It seems to me it's been hard to find answers.
Yes,
was that your experience too?
Yes, there's nobody talking about it. Look, if you can get on Google and you can find all sorts of things, that's no issue. It's just that it's like, if this is happening, it's like I don't know where to start. Yes, the thing is though, I guess you start by going to the doctor. Now, what I really recommend is that if you're going to a doctor, go to a doctor that is actually a member of the Menopausal Society. And there's one in every country, basically. And there's a list of doctors there that know about menopause. I went to a doctor, and I'm not sexist or anything, but I prefer women because they get it. But I went to a man doctor, and he sort of put me onto some like not custom made, off the shelf HRT. And look, I think I felt a little bit better, but I just bled. It just wasn't right for me. It was just completely stuffing up my hormones. And I went, I can't do this. And then I tried another one. The same thing happened. I said, well, maybe I'm just not quite ready for HRT. But it was like a one size fits all kind of thing. And it just wasn't customized for the individual. And everybody has different biochemistry, to a certain extent. I mean, we have the same basic biochemical reactions, but we react and to different stresses and different environmental triggers and all sorts of things. And our bodies are slightly different. So every woman is going to be different in what she needs for help with HRT. So that would be the first thing I would recommend, is going straight to a doctor that knows about menopause, and you can find them, you can Google them.
Yeah,
that's and number one.
That might take a bit of work too, though, Gina, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, my doctor, who is about my age, female doctor, over and over again, I would go to her to say, I'm not sleeping. And so I hit menopause at 45. We were talking a bit about this off camera, but I hit it fairly early, went through it very quickly, which was a blessing, I thought. But that's when I was about 46. That's the last time I had a good sleep. That's 15 years ago. So, and my doctor would tell me, she's around my age, intelligent woman. And it got to the point where she told me it was in my head. My insomnia was in my head. And I had a feeling it was just that she didn't know. She just didn't know what to tell me to help me. So I guess I would encourage women, and I'm sure there are a lot of them that can relate to what you've been talking about, would say, if you feel you're not getting the support you need from your own doctor, keep looking.
That's right, keep looking. And there are so many other people out there, like coaches like us, for example. We can help, because oftentimes, and I've Christiane Northrup, who's a doctor in America, she put this really succinctly, and this really, really did ring true with me, actually. So what it is, okay. So when your hormones, say between puberty and menopause, we are basically biologically reproductive, right? So what happens is, though, beforehand, during your childhood, everybody has traumas, even though you have, the most idyllic upbringing. There's always going to be some kind of trauma there, I mean, some people have really major traumas and, really the obvious traumas. Other people go, oh yeah, my childhood was good and that. But if you sort of look back, there's, our parents weren't perfect parents. And sometimes they said to us lovely things like, oh, you're beautiful, you're talented. And you go, of course I am, because you're young and you just take everything in, it's the way it is. And then, but they didn't always do that. Our parents weren't perfect. They're human and they had stuff going on for themselves. So, they've come home from work angry and frustrated and upset, and they might look at you and go, you stupid girl, why did you do that? Oh, you're so stupid, you dumb idiot. They don't mean it, but it's just like they're lashing out because of their own stuff. So I'm not saying blame your parents, everybody. We have to forgive them so that we can actually move on. But so this goes into our unconscious mind. So we have these traumas and things that happen, but we never ever deal with them, because once we hit puberty at 12, 13, whatever, okay, we have another agenda. It's like, that's when we want to go out with boys. We like the cutest boy in the class. We want to sort of look pretty for them. And this whole sex stuff starts happening, right? And it continues through, relationships and marriage and children and nurturing, and all of the way that we're programmed is to nurture our families and nurture just about everybody else other than ourselves. I think we always put ourselves last, but until menopause. So we have this program that's operating above all of the other stuff that we've actually gone through. So all of this other stuff down here, the traumas and the wounds and everything, they're sitting down here, not healed, right? They're sitting down there. And then, of course, this other agenda is masking it. So what happens during menopause then is that the hormones go, the progesterone starts to drop off and the estrogen. And then it's like all those childhood wounds and traumas, etc., they're laid there waiting to be healed, because that other programming, that other agenda is now gone. So it's like it's down here. And then it's like, the traumas are going, heal me, heal me, heal me, fix me. I'm here now. Look at me. You're ready now. You're ready now to actually sort of to heal this. And so a lot of women take that as being, I'm going crazy. Why am I crying all the time? And these wounds are there to be healed. And that's where coaching comes in. Coaching is really powerful at actually, addressing these wounds, bringing them to consciousness, number one, and then being able to deal with them and using all of the techniques that we all have in our toolboxes to be able to heal them. So the sleeping one, and I think the sleeping one for me, and mind you, I'm still working on it. I'm so much better at sleeping now than I was before. And I used to take sleeping tablets all the time, but then they didn't work. So what's the point? So I've learned other methods of actually sleeping, including now my poor husband. I don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. Putting it out there, ladies, it's okay. Even I thought at the time, oh my goodness, what's everybody going to think? They're going to think that we're going to get divorced. It's like, no. And then one of my friends said to me, Gina, every adult should have their own bedroom. I'm going, thank you, hallelujah. So I've got all these strategies to help me sleep, but and that's one of them. And I do love my husband very much, by the way. So it's not that I don't. It's just that I sleep better when he's not in the bed, snoring or turning over or getting up. Or if I get up, I don't want to wake him up either.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn the light on to read if I'm not sleeping and wake. So I'm lying there like this, going, when's it going to be morning? I don't want to wake up Pete, So it's best, of course, if we then just have our own spaces. So getting back to what I was saying. What was I saying? I can't even remember. I've gone off track, and that's the menopause brain for you, right?
That's okay. That's okay. There are two of us. Between us, we'll remember. But you were talking about you've got some routines that you use that have helped you with sleep, and it's a work in progress, but you're much better.
Yes. And I was going to point out that's right. Going back to the childhood wounds, I really believe that my lack of sleep was related to my childhood wounds, and I've done quite a bit of work on it. So it's got better and better and better as time has gone on. So I've done hypnotherapy, I've done some other matrix healings, etc. Not on myself. I need other people to do it for me, and that's really, really helped. So that's really helped with those childhood traumas kind of thing. Those, because I think for me, the sleep was, and it might be very different for you, everybody's different, was that my parents used to fight. And I was the elder, so I was like the most responsible one. So I was the one that kept that ear out for my dad coming home, you know, from the pub a bit drunk, and then mum going, you know, dinner's been sitting here for 3 hours, now it's all dried up. Then of course the fight starts, and you know, and I was there, or I knew that if I got between them, and at the age of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that I would be able to help, you know, because I knew my dad would never hurt me. Right. So I was the one, I was like the barrier between my mum and my dad. So, and I know that has impacted my sleep, and it's even worse now with menopause. So there's still work to be done. Excuse the noise in the background. That's the vacuum cleaner in the hallway there. It would have to happen.
That's the beauty of doing interviews. You just never know. Dogs walk through, you know, right. The lawnmower goes outside. Well,
that's
Gina,
right,
you know,
life.
This is so fascinating to me, because this is not something, I mean, in other contexts, I've learned that we do have traumas that need healing, but I had never connected it to issues in menopause. So it sounds as though there's an emotional component. You know, there's been damage done, and as you say, often inadvertent. We as children, we take things on and hang on to them, and we create a story about them that then, you know, really dictates our lives. There's the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old in me that had a story, and that's been running my life for a while. So you access these modalities, the hypnotherapy, the matrix, the neuro-linguistic programming, as a client, as a patient, you found success, so then you wanted to share those with others. So can you talk a little bit about, I'm very, very interested around the neuro-linguistic programming. Can you talk a little bit about how that works, how that can help support a woman to get through menopause? And I'm not even familiar with what the matrix therapy is as well. Maybe touch on that a little bit.
Yes. Okay, well, neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro is the brain, the mind. Linguistic is language, and programs. They're the programmings that we run on, and we all have a million programs that we run on, you know, especially from our memories and just in everyday life. The way we brush our teeth, we're programmed. We've got strategies, the way we do that. Everything we do, even the way we brush our hair, the way we get prepared for bed, there's always like a strategy, like a way of thinking. That's right, that gets into it. Now, some of the patterns we have in life are really beneficial. We don't want to get rid of them. They're fine. But sometimes we have patterns that are really detrimental to us. And it could be, you know, it could lead to things like drug taking too much alcohol, that kind of thing. It's a pattern. It's like, you know, and I know I have a bit of this myself, because I like my glass of wine or two. However, I'm breaking my pattern so that I only sort of have it on special occasions. But, you know, it's like 5 o'clock is the trigger, for example. I see a glass of wine in my head because I'm visual. And then I get a feeling like, oh, I get that feeling. It's wine time. And then you go to the fridge and you open, or you go to the cupboard, or, you know, your wine rack, and there's a whole like list of things that you do. So that might be a pattern that you might want to break. And NLP can actually, they have strategies that can help you break that pattern so that you will not really feel like drinking. It could be as simple as, you know, just when you have your glass of wine, hold it in your left hand if you're right-handed. And it's like, oh, that doesn't feel right. So it's like a way of breaking the patterns. We also have other, you know, there's quite a few tools within NLP that can actually help you with certain, you know, things in life, patterns in life that you want to get rid of. You know, I don't know whether you've heard, maybe people out there, there's a thing called the swish pattern, and there's parts integration. There's anchoring, and there's a whole lot of other stuff as well that can actually help you break old patterns and form new patterns and new habits. And also to be able to heal wounds as well, and forgive, you know, and that's what timeline therapy is about too, which matrix is like it's an extension, or not extension, it's sort of taking timeline and inner child work together, which is really, really, really powerful. Really great for healing old wounds, going back to the root cause, wiping it out at the root cause, and then coming back to now and wiping it out all the way along your timeline. So it's as simple as that. It's absolutely amazing. it's so powerful.
You know,
So yeah.
I'm thinking about, I used to challenge sometimes if I'd have a client or some of my students, I was also a teacher like you. Sometimes I would challenge them, you know, because we are so unaware of how many patterns we have in our lives. So I would say, you know, when you have a shower in the morning, just be really deliberate, dry yourself off a different way, because we have a pattern. We will dry ourselves
Yeah,
in exactly the same way every time. Or getting
absolutely.
dressed, you pull on a pair of jeans, put them on with the other leg first. If you usually pull your left leg on first, do it with your right leg. And they kind of laugh and think it's funny, but they'll come back to me after and say, I can't believe just how present I was to what I was doing, just changing that pattern, first of all. But it kind of gave them a little bit of lift. And so, you know, the neurolinguistic programming you're talking about is like becoming aware of patterns, interrupt them, creating new patterns. And it actually, if I understand correctly, you create new physical channels or pathways in the brain. There's a physical
Yes.
change that happens in the brain,
Yes.
isn't there?
Exactly. So basically what you're doing is you're changing the brain. A lot of the stuff that we have, because we've done it over and over and over again, it's all unconscious. You don't have to think about driving if you've been driving for a long time. You can sort of be driving along and then sort of been thinking about something else, and you get to your destination, you go, I can't even remember the drive here, because it's on automatic pilot, because it's in your unconscious mind. You've done it so many times. The neural pathways are all there, very, very powerful. So if you want to do something different, you actually have to consciously do something different. Like you say, you know, put the other leg in the jeans first, be really present. And it's even that the bad habits are like that. Taking out a cigarette, people think, oh, geez, where'd this come from, you know? And so it's really important to break those patterns by interrupting that pattern in some way. You know,
and so is that the starting point, is just becoming aware of what the patterns are, would you say?
Yes. It's unconscious, but I guess when you're coaching, it's like you don't know what people's unconscious patterns are until you've had the conversation, until you listen to what they say, until you hear their language, basically, to find out what it is they're saying, you know, and to find out what their patterns are, what their wounds are, and so that you can actually sort of then figure out how to deal with that and decide on what technique to use.
Okay, so would the language patterns, for example, be the kinds of self-talk that a client might use,
Yes.
that you would make her more aware of that? Is that the sort of thing?
Both. I guess if somebody says to me, if a woman says to me, all the good men are taken, for example, if they're looking for a relationship, and it's like, all of them? So it's that, you know, the language, there's something in the language that is not so good. It's like all the good men, it's like this whole thing, all the good men are taken. So that's picked up on, for example, it's like all of them. So you question them on it.
Right.
What? Right. Every single guy you know is taken, or every single good guy you know is taken. What about your brothers? What about, you know, your dad's that's divorced or whatever? And so it's just challenging their thinking. Oh, no, okay, that's not true. Yeah. So things like that, you can pick up on things that they say, or it's like, I'm just trying to think of another one now.
Like, I never have good luck. Everything good always happens to other people. Never happens to me.
So those absolutes never have good luck. Never? Really? You're still alive. You must have had some luck along the way. And it's also like reframing as well. Like, you know, the glass half full, glass half empty thing. For example, you know, somebody says, you know, I put on so much weight during COVID. And it's like, isn't it great that you've had good food to eat during that time? You know, you've had great food to eat, obviously. Like, oh, yeah, I did enjoy my food, actually, yeah. So it's challenging them with their thinking, and in so many different ways. Yeah.
Well, you know, language is such a powerful force, if I can use that term, and we create our reality with language, don't we? And so
absolutely, yes.
If everything we're talking about is framed in negative terms, self-deprecating terms, of course we're going to feel, you know, we're not going to feel our best. We're not going to feel that we're thriving. So I love that this really putting a lens on the actual language that we're using. So what could you suggest for our audience as just a one little thing with respect to the language? Is there any cue that you could give, or is there any particular pattern that you notice that comes up a lot with your clients that you say, just notice this, for example?
Yeah, I think, I think as women, we're pretty hard on ourselves. And I'm speaking generally. So it's not all women, of course. I'm not doing what, my clients do to me. All men are taken. All women are hard on themselves. I won't say that. I'll say most. I'm not going to make the same mistake. But a lot of women are really hard on themselves. And I'm hard on myself. I look at some of my really great friends and they're tough on themselves, whereas their partners, their husbands, men just think differently. They different hormones, different thought processes, and the culture that we have. It sort of really does. It benefits the. This sounds really awful now, but I'm going to say it anyway. This, the white male privilege kind of thing. They don't even know. Look at my husband; he has no clue. Like there's so many examples, but the way that he acts compared to the way that I act as a woman. It's like he doesn't know that he might be doing something wrong. To him, it's all right. Yeah. I'm just even, it's just different, that white male privilege. And anyway, so what was the question again? Oh my God, I've forgotten it again.
Well, just any little cue that you can give the audience to make them start to become aware of the language they're using. That's why there's two of us here, Gina.
So I've gone off.
We can remember for each other.
Come back. They're coming back now. So things like when they catch themselves saying, "I'm so stupid," even internally, it's like, no, catch yourself. I can't do that. No, ask a different question. I'm so stupid, and ask a question like, no, I am actually really smart, and I just need to figure out a way on how to do this. Not like, I can't do this kind of thing. It's just like, no. Catch them, reframe it, change it, and then ask the question, like, how can I do this better? Or how can I get this? How can I make this happen? So that's the language. And it's because the unconscious mind is going to keep, bringing up all of the stuff that you've trained it to bring up. And unless you catch it, unless you train yourself to catch it and change it on the spot, and ask a question that's really powerful, you're going to keep doing that whole thing, and it's going to get worse and worse. An inward spiral of not feeling good, or not feeling worthy, or not feeling good enough, etc., etc. So to catch yourself and to reframe and ask a powerful question.
I'm mindful of Byron Katie's work, that's very similar, where she will, the first two questions it's called the work that she does. And the first question, is that true? And the second question is, can you absolutely know it's true?
Yes.
So I'm sure there'll be people in the audience that will have read her work. And that's exactly that. It's just to stop us, stop on the spot and really look at what we're saying. Is it actually true?
Yes.
I have actually was a coach of mine, just a very, very powerful coach. And he told me that he had this thing he would do with his family, his wife and kids. And he said sometimes, so he uses the word cancel, and he'll use it on himself and he'll use it on anyone around him. So for example, if he hears his wife saying, "Oh, I never look good in this dress. I have nothing to wear. I never look good this." And he says he'll be 3 rooms away. He'll be on another floor. If he hears her saying that, he just yells at the top of his voice, "Cancel," just to snap her out of it. And he said it works. And he tells her to do the same thing with him. He does it with himself. If he catches himself, he'll just yell "cancel" to himself. And he said he doesn't care where he is. He just yells the word. So it doesn't even have to be anything as dramatic, but it's just something, isn't it? It's just something that snaps you out of that auto mode and gets you really thinking, is that really true?
Yes.
And the answer, probably 99 times out of 100, is going to be no, not
That's
really.
Right. Yeah.
Or not at all.
Great pattern interrupt.
Yeah. Dramatic, but it works. So,
absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Gina, this has been such an interesting conversation. I could talk with you about this stuff for hours. Likewise, especially the language piece. but I probably need to sort of start drawing this to a close.
Of course,
Now, you
understand.
have a lovely gift for everyone. Would you share that with us, please?
Okay. I have an ebook that everybody can download for free, and it's called Menopause Tips to Keep You Sane. And I must say that when I was at the height of my menopause, which I'm thankfully way beyond it now, thankfully, I really wish that I had this guide. And, you know, it goes into things like, you know, what to do for hot sweats and sleeping and, you know, HRT and a whole lot of stuff that I know that if you're going through menopause at the moment, or even beginning to with perimenopause, that you'll find it. It's just handy hacks, and it's, you know, yeah, I love it anyway, and I love creating it. So, and I've updated it a few times along the way, so it's like the best version at the moment. So,
I absolutely love it. And
yeah.
you know, your science background is there's a real foundation there of the science research and your own practical experience and what's worked, you know, to trial and error. You've really found some good solutions in it. So I'm sure there will be many people that will take advantage of that. That's very generous of you.
Yeah, thanks, Kip. And yeah,
uh,
just download
Gina,
it, ladies. You'll benefit from it. Absolutely.
yes. And I think, you know, what I'm taking away from this is, first of all, we're not alone. No one of us is alone in our experience. You know, there's a huge tribe of women going through it, so you do not have to go through it alone. And there is help, there are solutions, there are answers, there are people that will support, people like you, Gina, other coaches, medical practitioners. If your own doctor isn't serving you, if you don't feel that you're being seen or heard, find another one. Keep looking, don't give up. It's important. And
absolutely.
One of the things, you know, that I love about you is that you really embody the sort of wild and wise. You're this perfect combination of the two. You have this lovely rebellious streak that's just so endearing, but you're also, you've got decades of wisdom and you've put them to work. And the fact that you're so willing and generous to share them with everyone, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, and thank you, Kip. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I just want women to thrive. I really do. And when I hear of women who are not, it's like it's heartbreaking. And because it doesn't have to be like that. You know, we can all thrive. You know, this is the beginning of the rest of our lives. And you know, unlike our grandmothers and great grandmothers, we'll live lots, probably decades longer. And so we want to actually make the most of it. We want to have the most fun, the best life that we can. And that's why you need a team of people around you, whether it be doctors or psychologists, coaches, mentors, other women that sympathize and empathize as well. And so that we can all do this together. And I guess this is what you're all about. So thank you so much, Kip. Thank you. It's been very much.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kip.